Welcome back to Facilitation Fridays. I'm Kalani, your host and teacher here at World Drum Club. Thanks for joining me. So I often get asked about different ways to help people through music and different populations, and people often have questions like, what's the best way to start a group with, say, children with autism, and you want to do drumming, for example? Or what are some ways that you can engage people with developmental disabilities in music, in a group? And I get these questions a lot, and I think that what I want to do is I want to address that type of question, and I want to back up a little bit and give you all a bigger picture view of what it means to facilitate, and also how to ask effective questions so that when you're out there, whether you're facilitating or not, you're always kind of facilitating your own learning. So I think this also applies to yourself as your own teacher or your own facilitator of learning, which is what you are, right? So it doesn't matter if you're actually working with other people or groups, or you're just working on yourself. All of this applies. All right, so let's take the question like I got recently from somebody who was trying to ask me, okay, what are the best way, or let's say, what are some ways, what is the best way, what are some ways that you can, engage a group of children that have PTSD or that have autism or that have whatever, right, some condition. So we've got a population, we've got a situation, we've got a condition, and then we have a modality like music or drumming. So asking that question of somebody else is something that you might want to reconsider, and here's why. Because somebody might ask me what I think or what I would do, but I can't necessarily give that kind of advice to anybody that I don't know, because I don't know what if you were asking me that question, I don't know what you're capable of. I don't know what your training is, you see. So we don't have the same tools that we're working with experientially, musically. We don't have the same qualifications. We haven't done the same work to prepare ourselves to enter into a situation. So it's really difficult to answer the question, what is something I can do? And you're asking somebody else, because that somebody else is not you, right? So that makes sense, right? In general. Now, I want to get to this idea of that there even is a best thing to do. I think it's maybe a better question to ask yourself, well, first of all, what can I do personally? What are the tools I have available to me personally? In other words, what's my musical platform? And then what literal tools do I have at my disposal? What instruments do we have to work with, etc.? And then more importantly, who are these people? A group of people, even if it's children with autism or children with PTSD or any group of people, is not just a homogeneous block that you can just apply an answer to, a simple answer. The whole idea of facilitating involves assessment. It involves getting to know who you're working with, not only as a group of people that might have a certain label attached to them, like a diagnosis. That's just a convenient, categorization tool that we often use. And I think it has benefits, but it also has things about that are misleading or unfortunate when it comes to prescribing some kind of advice. It's a little bit like, let me give you an analogy. It's a little bit like me asking you, let's say I'm asking you as my friend, what should I say to somebody who just lost a loved one? Right? What should I say? Well, who are they? I mean, what do you mean, what should I say? I mean, you say what the best thing you can say in the moment. That if that moment, when that moment happens, when that moment comes up and you're with the person, you're going to say whatever you think is the best thing to say. What's the use of planning? It's kind of like planning what you're going to say to somebody if you're having a fight with somebody and you think, when I see them, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to tell them that, and I'm going to do this. And how often does that play out according to your plan, right? Never. It's a little bit like that. So I'm just not sure that asking other people or asking ourselves what should I do way ahead of time before you get into a situation is really the best strategy. I think a better strategy would be to ask yourself, what can I do? What's the possibilities? What are the possibilities of things that I could do, that I'm prepared to do, based on my training and my history? And then ask yourself, how can I assess in the moment what would be the best thing to do? And I think many of you are going to know that. Just like if you're working on yourself, you're going to work day to day, and you're going to wake up and you're going to have a plan maybe from the day before. But then during that day, at that particular time, you're going to make choices that are really the best choices you could make in that moment. So it's not about thinking that there's some prescription out there that you can get from somebody else, even if they're highly experienced. It's not as simple as just asking a question like, what's the best way to do this, or what's some better ways to do that? We can certainly talk about strategies, and we can talk about trends. We can talk about what would be customary or usual. We can talk about all those things. But what I'm hoping to do in this little brief talk with you is steer you away from this kind of black and white thinking or prescriptive thinking that there is an answer, to that question. I don't presume to have answers to those questions. When I start working with a group or an individual, the first thing I want to do is meet them and be in that experience and gather information. In other words, see who's there, what's going on with them at that time, what are their needs in that moment, because their needs in that moment might be different than what you think their overall needs would be, in general. So in the moment needs are super important, and you're not going to know what those are until you're in the moment. And you're not going to know what those are until you do some interaction with the person or those people or yourself on a certain day. Kind of have to check in. So there's all of that preparation and investigation and assessment that goes into trying to get an answer to that question, which is what's the best way to help people in the moment, whether that's on a psychological level or an emotional level or an intellectual level or physical level, whatever it is. And usually it's all of those things together, right? There's a lot that goes into that. And I don't presume to have the answers. I have my experience. You have your experience. We're all on this kind of continuum path. But it's not just one path either. We all have different experiences. You could be very experienced with, say, PTSD, right? You might be somebody who has a lot of experience with PTSD, but not so much experience with music. Conversely, you could be really experienced with music. You could be an accomplished musician. You could be a famous musician. Not a movie star. Well, you could be a movie star. You could be a star musician, pop star. It doesn't mean you have any experience with PTSD. So, there's a whole constellation of experience and resources and training and background and, all of that goes into creating the best experience in that moment for an individual or a group of people. All right? That's really all I wanted to talk about today. I know this is more of a opening up questions than it is for providing answers, but I also, I like that Socratic approach also because I think asking the right questions puts us a little bit closer to getting the best answers for us. All right? Not as a blanket for everything, not as a solution for every situation. All right, I hope this has been helpful. I'm Kalani Das. If you'd like to work more closely with me and other people that feel passionate about music and drumming and helping people, you can join us at patreon.com/Kalani and become a supporter of the World Drum Club YouTube channel. But in any case, I hope you like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in a future episode.